This video describes the main elements of the UK MOT test for motorcycles. There are a few exceptions for old motorcycles and additional checks for those with the sidecar. If you keep your bike in good order, the MOT test shouldn't be a worry. It's always best to present your bike in a clean condition. In fact, cleaning it could show up defects which might otherwise go unnoticed and enable you to fix them before submitting the bike for its test. Check the tyre pressures are correct, because low pressures can have an adverse effect when the tester performs the brake efficiency test. It'll be handy to have the help of an assistant for some of these checks. Note that no part of the test requires the tester to remove or dismantle components. Check the headlight and position light work. Also check the headlight main beam in the high switch position. The headlight must emit a white or yellow light. Check the tail light and, if fitted, the separate license plate light. On this model, the license plate is illuminated by a clear section in the tail light lens. Note that a red reflector must be fitted, either as separate item or incorporated in the tail light lens. Apply each brake in turn, checking that the light comes on immediately the brake starts to take effect. Check the front and rear turn signals work and all flash at the same steady rate. The warning light in the instruments must also work, and if fitted, all 4 turn signals must flash in the hazard position. The MOT tester will use special equipment to check the beam height. What you can do at home, though, is view the headlight beam in the high and low positions against a plain wall. Note that the motorcycle should be off its stand and with the rider seated. Check that the centre of the main beam's light pattern is level with the bulb height from the ground, and that in the dip position the beam settles to the lower left of this. Check that the horn produces a loud and continuous sound. Hold the front brake on and compress the forks several times to check their damping action. Light oil misting on the chromed fork tubes is acceptable, but signs of oil leakage after working the forks up and down indicates a failed oil seal. If there's doubt, work the dust seal free with a small screwdriver so that you can check the oil seal. The handlebars must be mounted securely, and no part of the bars or switchgear should contact the tank or be capable of trapping the rider's fingers. Check that the grips, levers and switches are secure on the handlebars. With the motorcycle off its stand and someone supporting it upright, bounce the rear suspension to check its damping action and free movement. Check there's no sign of oil leakage from the shock absorber damper. Grasp the top of the rear wheel and attempt to lift it up, feeling for any play in the rear shock mountings, or on a motorcycle with a linkage system, play in the linkage bearings. No free play should be felt. With the wheel off the ground, spin the wheel and apply the brake. The wheel should stop immediately and the brake free off fully once the lever or pedal is released. Note that on the rear, you may feel resistance from the final drive. On a disc brake, check the lever or pedal does not feel spongy, indicating air in the system. Check tyre condition and tread depth, rotating the wheel to see the entire tread area. This rear tyre's tread depth has reached the absolute minimum of 1 mm, whereas the tread depth on the front measures an acceptable 3 mm. Measure depth with a gauge or rule. Current UK law requires a minimum of 1 mm across 3/4 of the tread breadth, although most motorcyclists will change their tyres well before this limit. Spin the wheel and check that the wheel and tyre run true and the tyre bead is equidistant from the wheel rim. Also inspect the tyre's sidewall. It must be free from cracking, cuts and bulges. On a cast wheel, check that there are no cracks in the alloy rim and spokes. And on a spoke wheel, check that there are no broken, bent or heavily rusted spokes. The MOT tester will check that the front and rear tyre types are compatible, fitted so that the direction of rotation arrow points in the forwards direction of travel, and that it's not a tyre marked as being unsuitable for road use. Go around the motorcycle checking that all nuts and bolts are tight and that the controls and the seat are securely mounted. The tester will check in particular that the wheels, and where fitted the brake torque arm, are securely mounted. The tester will check wheel alignment, either using two perfectly straight bars or using laser equipment. Most cases of poor wheel alignment on a chain-driven motorcycle are down to failure to adjust the chain adjusters evenly. Marks on each side of the swing arm are provided to preserve good wheel alignment when adjusting chain slack. On disc brakes, find the angle at which you can see the pad friction material and check there's plenty left. Also check that there's no sign of brake fluid loss from the caliper. Check that the brake disc is securely mounted to the wheel. There should be no sign of leakage from the union bolts or hydraulic hoses, and the hoses should be free from cracking, chafing and bulges. Check that brake fluid is present in the reservoir. If ABS is fitted, the system's warning light must work. On drum brakes, apply the brake and check the pointer attached to the operating arm doesn't align with the limit marker on the back plate. With the wheel off the ground, grasp it on each side and attempt to move it about the wheel hub. Any play in the bearings will be felt, and roughness in the bearing may be evident when the wheel is rotated. Check the security of the controls on the left and right side of the motorcycle. The side stand spring must be capable of holding the stand securely up when retracted. Check the main stand springs in the same way. Check that the chain guard is securely mounted, that chain slack isn't excessive, and that the rear sprocket is securely held to its carrier or direct to the rear wheel. Check that the rear sprocket teeth aren't showing signs of significant wear or damage. A problem here would indicate the front sprocket and chain are also worn. Similar checks would need to be made on a motorcycle with belt final drive. On a shaft drive motorcycle, check that there is no sign of oil leakage from the final drive unit or the drain and filler or level plugs. Open the fuel filler cap and check the condition of its sealing ring. Where possible, with the bodywork in place, the tester will also check that there is no sign of fuel leakage from the fuel delivery system. Start the engine and check that there are no exhaust gas leaks at any point. Check at the header pipe connection to the cylinder head and at the welded sections of the exhaust. If the motorcycle has a separate silencer or collector box, check that there are no gas leaks from the clamps. The exhaust should bear an E mark or be of original equipment manufacture. Acceptable noise levels are at the discretion of the tester.